new champion. I really haven't seen much of him, but I really hope that that his new items can actually help out with a lot of their matchups here.
Yeah, most recently, Ornn did get a buff on patch 7.19. It's interesting to see that he's kind of come back into favor, at least for solo queue. I do not recall seeing him much in competitive play, but with the buffs to his just base mana pool, his Q, his E, having those mana costs reduced, he can actually spam his abilities a little bit more for that trading potential. Though I'm not sure how well he can actually fare against someone so strong as Cho'Gath in that laning phase.
Gotcha. So I heard we were having some audio issues just because of a few issues here, but looks like we just got unmuted. Sorry about all of that, guys. Again, we're just finishing picks and bans here, and a really interesting pick and ban phase. Definitely the Xayah pickup is really nice. The Ornn is a very interesting pickup here, and a Warwick and Graves in the jungle, which isn't too heavily meta. I like the Sejuani ban, but I would have wanted to see something like a Gragas come through.
Yeah, normally you're looking for engage and tankiness from the front end of your jungle. You're looking for those like Sejuani, of course, banned out here. The Jarvan, really strong from the jungle as well. So picking Graves and Warwick, kind of those fighters. Graves having a little less of that engage potential than, of course, a Warwick ultimate. I'm not quite sure how these teams intend to start their fights. What, a Nami wave here for Whaler Esports? Or do you just have Cho'Gath trying to flank with TP or Lucky Syndra stun, perhaps, for Stonington? What do you see happening for teams to actually start some fights?
The Whaler actually has some pretty nice engage using either the Nami bubble or the Anivia stun. Both pretty long range. I'd assume that Whaler is definitely going to go towards more of the pick composition since they have Twitch and Anivia, which can team together. Anivia easily placing down a wall and a stun to assassinate someone, as well as Twitch being able to stealth and surprise people like Janna and the other AD carries.
Excellent point. And I actually like the likely less than planned synergy between having Ornn and Anivia. Of course, NA Anivia main likely to pick that bird anyway, but having Ornn and his ability to slam people into a wall, I really like that synergy there. And again, we apologize for those audio issues. Once again, I'm Superman, and I'm joined here by Hans. We're casting for you this afternoon. This is Whaler Esports on blue side versus Stonington on red. This is Season 1, Week 1 for EGFH League of Legends tournament. This is the high school level. So we're looking to see mostly those comfort picks like we talked about in Champion Select, and these teams looking to play to their strengths, their comfort from solo queue. I'm not sure if there's much synergy between these players. I'm not really familiar with how much they may have played together in the past, but should be some good games.
Yeah, I'm definitely really interested to see this top lane matchup. We often don't see Ornn in competitive play, so I'd like to see what this Ornn player can do, especially against a Cho'Gath, since it's going to be a very farm-heavy lane. Ornn obviously has that lane priority because he's able to shop from anywhere in lane.
Right, and there is a cooldown to that ability. You can't just spam purchasing items and potions and things like that, and there's only certain things that you can build while in lane. But we got just a 30 seconds remaining here on that spectator delay, and we'll get right into Summoner's Rift. Again, this is our first match of Week 1, Season 1 for EGFH League of Legends tournament. We've got Ornn in the top lane versus Cho'Gath. Warwick in the jungle, Graves taking him on. In the mid lane, Anivia versus Syndra. Twitch and Nami in the bottom lane taking on Xayah and Janna. Definitely going to see those Ardent sensors coming through, likely early, perhaps even rushing them before Sightstone, as you see often in solo queue. But as we're loading here onto our loading screen, Hans, tell me a little bit more about the early game here. Now that we know what the junglers are, you mentioned the top lane bans perhaps showing some focus up in that direction. But what do you expect from the pathing of these junglers early?
It looks like red side actually has a lot of good winning lanes. You know, Anivia starts out really slow, so does Twitch. So therefore, I can see Stonington having a lot of focus on the bot side jungle, and just kind of leaving the top side to just farm. Since they decided to ban all of these aggressive top laners, definitely want to see what moves this Graves makes. I'm not sure how Warwick is gonna take this, how he's gonna try to counteract these Grave ganks. Possibly maybe just farm up and help out Ornn. Maybe even just try to snowball this NA and Nivea main.
Yeah, the Warwick has a little bit more gank pressure early because he does have his own form of hard crowd control, that fear, whereas Graves can only show up with red buff and perhaps the smoke screen slow. What do you expect? We're showing up into our loading screen here. We got, instead of Thunderlords or the Warlords or even Fervor, we've got Storm Raider's Surge here on this Graves. I want to talk about him a little bit more. Do you like that Keystone choice? It was the flavor when Graves was in the meta. He's kind of fallen out of favor in terms of the meta, but now that he's been picked here for this game, what do you think of the Storm Raider Surge pick?
I think the Storm Raider Surge is pretty nice. It helps them chase their slower champions on the blue side, like the Anivia, like the Twitch. It also helps counteract some of the extra movement speed bursts that Nami helps provide. Otherwise, I believe it should be pretty strong. I'm definitely seeing Graves coming out on top in the early game jungle here.
Yeah, he has a little bit faster of a clear time than Warwick for sure. I worry though about this Graves pick, having been picked after already seeing the bottom lane as well as the Anivia pick in the draft. Those are notoriously long-range Twitch, right? You've got that spray and pray, and then of course Anivia plays from zone control, right? She's got that Glacial Storm. She can set up the wall to create spaces. Graves, of course, his damage comes from that short-range, close-range shotgun damage. Meaning if he wants to proc that Storm Raiders, he really has to get there, get into the fights, and start throwing out his abilities in that close range. Does he just get bursted out by an Anivia stun into some crits coming out from a Twitch? How does he actually play these fights?
I don't know. It's interesting because there's a lot of AoE on the blue side team. We also actually see this Ornn only picking up 2 health pots in the early game, trying to maybe perhaps flex what he can buy in lane using his buying power after he sees what Cho'Gath purchases.
Yeah, that's actually a really smart idea. I've not played with many Ornns recently, so I haven't seen this strategy of just picking up a couple potions before purchasing. Nice catch there. It looks like standard starts for the jungle. Both bottom lanes going to give a leash to their junglers. Likely going to be that 3 camp or so start into a gank with double buffs. Since they're both starting on this bottom side of the map with a leash from their bottom lane, I expect these junglers to either look for a topside gank into mid lane or straight into that top lane, if not invading each other's junglers.
I definitely agree with that. I like how the red side team here is establishing their level 1. They had Cho'Gath sitting in that triangle bush. It seems that they had their level 1 a little bit more prepared than the blue side here.
Yeah, and again, those first buffs just getting picked up. Gonna see how quickly these junglers can do their first rotations. In the middle lane, we're gonna have this Syndra. I mentioned in Champions League how it's likely that Syndra versus Anivia matchup means Syndra will be pushing Anivia in early. There's no ghost, no teleport on this Syndra, so I don't necessarily expect her to try and roam off of having priority in the mid lane, but I wouldn't put it past her either.
Yeah, and you mentioned that no ghost, no. I like the choice of Summoner Spell here for Anivia. Definitely having an extra teleport on the team, giving them that higher teleport advantage in the late game, allowing them to create team fights a lot easier.
Yeah, I do like that pick. Anivia wanting to farm as much and as often as possible, so the TP also for team play can especially bring a little bit more power if she can just teleport back into lane after having enough gold to buy those like priority items, you know, an early tier, perhaps into a Roa, the parts of that. But up here in the top lane, Graves getting a lot of damage already. Tenor on this Ornn has to flash the wall. Nearsighted available. There's Saw Dude on this Warwick. Gets knocked up. He's gonna have to flash the wall as well. Red buff is taking flashes over. There's first blood for this Graves. And actually, Ornn shows up again. The knockup doesn't quite show up. Double buff's gonna do it enough. And that's gonna be a double kill early. Only 3 minutes into the match, this Graves popping off.
Yeah, definitely. They synergized their CCs really well there, being able to knock up the Graves, having to force both flashes and killing them both.
That's really well played. Nice patience there from the Graves to actually wait out both of those flashes before deciding to flash over the wall himself. Nice CC. He did put down an amazing the smoke screen that showed them less of each other on the map. They couldn't necessarily track their teammates' health bars, and then of course forcing them to flash over the wall. Super strong there. So now Graves getting a refresh on his double buffs. Up in farm, couple of kills. He's sitting on at least 1,000 gold in his inventory.
Yeah, and mid lane's getting pretty scrappy too. We see a Warwick gank just coming across mid lane, but both mid laners are low in health, low in mana. Looks like Syndra's gonna hit that recall, and probably Anivia will do the same as she finishes clearing out this wave.
Yeah, looks like that gank went relatively well for Whaler here. The Anivia plus the Warwick able to pull out the flash from Syndra, and barrier as well. Anivia holds her flash through that little bit of a trade, meaning if they can set up a gank in the future, in the near future, within the next 5 minutes, it should be a relatively free kill on such an immobile champion like that Syndra.
Definitely, and it looks like Whaler's definitely going to have to play around this mid lane just because of the fact that they've lost so many summoner spells on the top side and on the jungle. I definitely want to see this Warwick position himself in the bot side jungle to be able to help out this Twitch, get him to the late game, and help out this Anivia as well.
Well, speaking of Anivia getting bullied in the mid lane, there's the Thunderlord's proc. NA Anivia main taken low, did not end up basing at the same time as the Syndra, so gonna have to make a choice about when exactly she'll want to return to base. There's a massive wave approaching the bird's turret at this point, so it'd be not optimal. As we do get a nice bubble here in the bottom lane, Janna's Tornado does knock up the Twitch. There's a nice expunge for a bit of a trade, but both 80 carries very low on mana now, looking for a little bit less of those trades.
Yeah, Anivia's actually going to hit level 6 soon, which is definitely one of the bigger power spikes. Anivia's passive was just popped by Syndra in the mid lane, right behind the tower, so she is a little more safe. But as soon as she hits 6, she's going to have a lot of good wave clear against this Syndra, who's constantly going to be pushing her into the turret until she hits level 6.
Yeah, and without that Warwick pressure, Syndra's showing that even at 40% health, she can put down that bully onto the Anivia. Nice stun actually comes through, but no mana to follow up with the E. Anivia landing a good number of stuns early, but she's going to have to keep that skill shot hitting if she wants to maintain her pressure.
Yeah, Anivia here just hit level 6, but I really would have wanted to see her back earlier when Syndra did, just because she needs the extra mana here. She also had teleport advantage coming back into lane, so she could have done a lot more in this lane having that extra mana with this ultimate. Now she's going to have a really weird back time unless she's able to push this wave all the way out.
She does actually push it into turret, but it's enough of that reset timer that Syndra will likely miss only half that wave or so. And when it comes to CS numbers overall, there's actually an advantage for Syndra anyway, even though there's a teleport advantage for Anivia, who will actually use that CD to return to mid.
Yeah, we also just saw a Graves gank into the top lane, forcing Ornn to recall. Probably have to pop the other teleport here, meaning that blue side's gonna have no teleports coming into this next couple minutes. Graves definitely putting a lot of pressure here on this top side.
Yeah, Graves, we've kind of had him been quiet since he got that snipe double kill early in the top side. He's pinged out, walks over a couple wards. He's going to just keep farming. He's got a small CS lead over the Warwick, but really it's just going to be that level advantage that he hopes to get, hitting level 6 first, so that he can show up ahead of time, track that Warwick in the river perhaps, and show up for a counter gank with slightly more damage in his item build than the Warwick might be able to put out.
Yeah, and since there's so much pressure bot side from this red side team here, we're definitely going to see Graves try to draw Warwick towards the top side jungle by ganking top lane more. Bot lane red side having the clear advantage here, using Xayah over the Twitch, Xayah having that extra early game, being able to toss out those feathers.
Yeah, I do like that point, but these bubbles have been landing for Nami. There's a little bit of damage comes through, but Xayah going to throw out the feathers. Doesn't actually get a root out of it, but she's going to show that she's not afraid to actually fight even after getting bubbled through. Graves here, though, gonna be walking overward, gonna take out the vision. Will they look for a dive, though? Mana is relatively low here for blue side. Whaler has to be careful with this bottom lane.
Yeah. Also, oh, gank here coming in.
Graves does show up. The bubble misses. There's the damage right against the wall. Misfortunes gets the red buff. He's going to be ticking with that true damage. Teleport is coming through. Cho'Gath's going to show up. One more auto attack from the turret will do it. And Twitch is going to get the kill credit for that. Nami really low. Only a little bit of mana to boot. and one more tower hit might do it for the Graves, but he backs off in time. While there's also a fight in the top lane, teleport gets canceled by for the Cho'Gath by the Ornn, and it looks like red team, Stonington, gets a decent play off, loses the Janna early, but ends up trading 1-for-1 overall.
Yeah, definitely a good play by blue side, being able to help them get the Twitch snowballing, getting that early kill. Twitch picking up a BF sword here, meaning that he got out of this laning phase pretty well for going against a Xayah and Janna in lane. Nami definitely helping out in that, since Nami's main spell in lane actually provides a heal instead of a shield. That means Twitch can stay near full life the entire time. Definitely believe that the blue side is definitely getting the better of the bot lane going into the late game.
Right, and we do see an assist comes through for each of these supports on those kills that just happened in the bottom lane. Talk to me about the support itemization. It looks like both of them heading for at least a shield heal item, likely that Ardent Sensor. But talk to me about the gold differential here. It looks like Nami has quite a bit more, even though they both just share one assist. What's happening there?
Yeah, Nami definitely is going to go a little bit wider in her items, being able to push towards the Ardent Sensor faster, while Janna choosing to go for the upgrade for her coin, trying to get that extra gold through the quest that she gets through her support item. Now we see a gank from Graves up on the top lane. Graves definitely putting a lot of pressure in this top lane.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Nice knock-up. A couple more auto attacks might do it. As Cho'Gath is out of mana, he's going to take a lot of damage from that turret. He's down to only 150 health, but he does have this nice wave showing up here. Warwick with so much movement speed. The ultimate does land. He's going to get a kill for himself, but no mana to follow up. There's red buff on this Graves. He might just chase down this Warwick. Chooses not to chase into lack of vision. Oh, he does. Dashes forward. He's still running down that jungle as down here in the bottom lane. Nice route onto the Nami. Knockup will do it. Last hit comes through it. And crits start to come through from this Twitch. Not enough damage. Shield comes through to make sure the true damage tick doesn't take the Xayah along with. But Graves invading that jungle once again, putting the pressure onto this Warwick.
Yeah, I definitely want to see this red side team clean up their tower dives a lot more. You know, both times they've lost a champion, they've lost it to a poor tower dive. You know, Cho'Gath extending too far, or this Janna tanking the turret for a little too long.
And looks like Graves is alone in the jungle. Gets a nice separation by using his ultimate, but that's way too much damage as he tries to take on two members of the enemy team. And Stonington's jungler started out 3-0, but he falls. That's a shutdown of gold going over to Whaler.
Yeah, and definitely a good coordination by Whaler, being able to group and collapse on this Grave as soon as they saw him. Ornn and Warwick quickly rushing there just to be able to finish that kill. Getting that extra gold back means that they're pretty much even now.
Yeah, and NA and Nivea main versus not reformed here in the mid lane. Their mages trying to control these waves and put pressure onto the enemy laner to not be able to leave that lane. Looks like Anivia has been able to trade damage relatively equally, and now with that blasting one on top of the tier, stacking that early is a really big deal. And I like the choice to choose Blasting Wand rather than the Catalyst as part of that early Rod of Ages, rather than looking for more of a mana pool, making sure she has the damage to actually take some trades.
Yeah, and the big difference here is that Graves actually took the blue buff from Syndra, meaning that when he died, he actually transferred the blue buff over to Warwick. So that means Anivia has a really great advantage here in the mid lane, while the blue buff being transferred over to the blue side team is not very good for red side team here.
Yeah, and we talked about how blue buff is so strong on Anivia, being able to stack that tier even faster. Looks like on the way pings perhaps by this Warwick. His ultimate is back off cooldown, having successfully netted himself a kill in that top lane. There's no vision up there. Nice double bubble actually lands. Misfortunes starts to open up with that ultimate. We're gonna lose vision over the wall. Has to flash forward if he wants to get that expunge. He does, and that's going to be a root coming through from Xayah. Exhaust comes through. There's not a lot of damage, but Graves is here. We know he has the damage, and that's going to be the Nami. Look at so much health being lost so quickly. Nami down to less than 100 health as there's a fight in the middle in the river. Anivia and Syndra trading equally. The barrier comes through, and Graves picking up that kill. The egg comes through. NA and Anivia main getting so low. Only 100 health. Nice suppress comes through. The Warwick saves the life of the bird as Anivia flashes away. Anivia lives to see another day.
Yeah, great follow-up from Warwick here to be able to save the Anivia's life, and Anivia's passive just coming up just in time for Anivia to live that gank.
Yeah, really well played there by both of the members of Whaler. It was good that Warwick was playing around that mid lane, as Cinder was able to land a few nice stuns, good combos, set up enough Dark Spheres that her ultimate did a ton of damage, but not quite enough. Just 100 damage short of taking down that Egg Nivea.
Yeah, and now with the Graves ganking bot side, a lot of pressure is relieved off the top lane. Ornn is bullying the heck out of this Cho'Gath on the top lane, dropping him down to 50%.
Oh, Smite wasn't available for the Graves. He's gonna get feared, so he doesn't actually get to dash over the wall. He already used his E. Will that be enough damage? Oh my goodness, when Warwick is down to 15 health, he still turns it around, getting that health, killing out that Graves. Graves playing so aggressive, and I normally like to see that out of someone who's so far ahead, but now, going from 3-0 to letting the Warwick go 4-1. This is a problem for Stonington.
Yeah, and now Warwick's going to be able to farm up really fast, being able to hit that Tiamat so early. I really wish Graves could have hit that Blast Plant to go over the Dragon Wall to leave there, but I believe he thought he could win the duel there without having to use it.
Yeah, I guess he ended up not being able to. Graves not having the smite to actually secure that red buff, and so the extra damage doing work for Warwick in that little bit of a trade. But now that we're taking stock, we're approaching that 15-minute mark. Down here in the bottom lane, we've got relatively equal gold between these two bottom laners. Really, the more massive amount of gold on Xayah only coming from a small CS advantage plus that first turret gold, meaning she's up about 800 gold or so. Being able to complete that first item super early, will they be looking to keep the pressure going in that 2v2, or will they rotate this duo away to try and pressure more turrets?
Definitely that comes with a little more experience. I could see them continue pushing out this bot lane, especially since they got first turret. They have that extra like 1,000 gold on Xayah and Janna's side. I actually want to see this Janna, if she has the gold for it, recall and get this Ardent Sensor. Ardent Sensor matters way too much. They could use this advantage now since the tower is down. But it looks like they're actually rotating towards mid lane to try to inch towards top lane here, perhaps.
Yeah, it looks like they did move that Xayah Janna into the middle of the lane. That's a nice bubble. I don't see many of those actually missing from this Nami, and most of them landing straight onto Xayah. If that keeps happening, the later and later this game goes, you can expect that Xayah to have to ultimate every single time, and you know that her ultimate has a much longer cooldown than a Nami bubble. Yeah, I like this pressure though in mid lane, using that gold advantage, pressuring it onto more turrets, more global gold. There's a nice stun from the Anivia into damage from Anivia's Glacial Storm. We're gonna be looking for these key cooldowns. Spray and pray back up. We've got that tidal wave from Nami. Most ultimates are available across the map. Ornn did use that one in a tiny little trade near topside. Looks like Stonington's gonna try and secure this Ocean Dragon, which isn't quite that strong once laning phase is over, but it looks like it will be an easy secure. What's the next thing? What's the next objective that you expect to see Stonington looking for, as Whaler seems to be on their back foot?
I feel like Red Side team has a lot of siege potential here. Because they have the Ocean Drake, because they have the Janna, they're able to disengage and sustain really well. I would really like them to continue having the Xayah and Janna in the mid lane to keep pushing down turrets. Otherwise, they could even rotate the Xayah and Janna up to top lane and have Cho'Gath come down, because Cho'Gath has been getting a lot of pressure from this Ornn, and since there's no dragon on the bot side, they can look to contest Rift Herald.
Yeah, what do you think of this item choice by the Cho'Gath, trying to match the shove potential of this Ornn? Instead of like going AP, Cho'Gath builds a Tiamat.
Yeah,
is he going for like a Titanic Hydra? What do you expect to see out of that?
I would probably prefer to see a Titanic Hydra over a Ravenous Hydra, but overall, I think Tiamat's just such a weird item choice here for this Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath doesn't need extra item abilities to push the wave. He still has those Whirlpool spikes in his kit. I guess it's nice for him to be able to help shove out this wave, but he also has like the Feral Scream and his knockup to help shove out the wave. I'm not sure what this item choice was for.
Yeah, I suppose there's something to be said about the ability for Cho'Gath to stack health like pretty much infinitely as the game goes on with that ultimate, and in that way he has infinite damage potential via Titanic Hydra that scales off of health, but I don't really think that's the better choice. Although Graves here in the top lane, nice knock-up into so much damage, 200 health remaining, 100 in the fire breath here for that Ornn. Gonna secure himself a solo kill as the teleport comes through from this Cho'Gath. Warwick showing his face in the top side as well, but Ornn looks to be controlling that top side of the map all on his own.
Yeah, definitely. Ornn being a really good bully in the mid lane, and the Abyssal Mask helping out against the matchup of Cho'Gath. Another big point here is that we see Janna, she has picked up her Ardent Sensor already compared to just the support item upgrade from Nami's side. And Anivia being able to 1v1 this Syndra now. Definitely we're going to see blue side coming out on top going into this mid to late game, I think.
Yeah, it's really intense to see actually an Anivia get solo kills onto a Syndra. Normally Syndra able to bully that matchup on her own, and even if she falls behind, Syndra being able to create distance by knocking back an Anivia, interrupting that Glacial Storm. But as Herald gets taken here by Whaler, the gold lead seems to be becoming smaller and smaller for Stonington. If we're looking down here at the bottom side, you mentioned the Janna having that lead, the Ardent Sensor. Now Nami has just picked up one of her own. And though we can see Nomad's Medallion netting about 1,100 gold versus 600 or so for the Frostfang from Nami, the global gold has now equalized, at least within this 1,000 difference. And this top lane, though it's close in terms of CS numbers, the Ornn seems to just have complete control.
Yeah, definitely. Also, the Xayah has a full item compared to the few pieces that the Twitch has. I'm not even sure what Twitch is trying to build towards here. He has like kind of parts of an Infinity Edge and an attack speed item behind that. But since Twitch has the tower down, he has an extra, like, pretty much a giant zone of farming safety. Now rotating the Xayah and Janna up top, like I said earlier, being able to try to push down that top lane turret really quickly since Cho'Gath had too much pressure coming from the Ornn.
Nami forced to flash over the wall, though. Nice double stun from Anivia. The wall doesn't do too much, but Ornn's coming around the other side. Red buff Graves gonna get knocked into the air. Nami with no flash plays really far forward. Nice smite to get a little bit more health by this Graves. He's gonna run out of the jungle. But that was a really hairy situation for this Nami, as Herald is used in the bottom side. Since there was so much fighting happening in mid lane, nice distraction for them. Twitch and Warwick able to pick up a turret, keeping that gold lead relatively equal as the mid lane turret falls in favor of Stonington. But it looks like Ornn might be getting caught out as well. He does have that gap closed. Gonna get rooted for a second, but nice use of his dash there to actually interrupt. I'm not sure if that actually cancels out CC that he had applied to him, or if he import buffered that in order to not remain rooted.
Yeah, definitely agree with this Xayah and Janna swaps to the top lane more and more as this game progresses, just because of the massive pressure that Ornn has. I do disagree with some of the aggression that Graves has put out, but looks like we're getting to another fight here with Warwick being shut down by the Cho'Gath Syndra collapsing on him.
And that's actually a big deal. The Titanic Hydra was completed by this Cho'Gath, and you can see he's getting more and more health, and him securing a little bit more gold there. A nice full 300 gold kill. Although here in the top lane, just a moment. All right, not a fight breaking out. But we were talking about this Cho'Gath. He's now pulled a CS lead over the Ornn, as Ornn is now playing support, it seems, to this Twitch. Twitch does have spray and play available down here. Starts with a couple of auto attacks. There's the spray and pray. Ornn starts off his ultimate, but he's rooted, so he can't really set up. And he gets a nice knockup from his ultimate, but there's going to be the expunge. That's the most burst damage that Twitch can apply, and it's not quite enough to take down this Janna. Heal was used by Janna, but that's about the only summoner spell that comes through for that fight.
Definitely. Really good setup from Ornn there, being able to misdirect the other team, pretending that Twitch isn't there, and being able to relieve a lot of lane pressure there. Janna now having to back means that Ornn can play a lot safer in this lane.
Yeah, and we do have the Sightstone now completed on top of the sensor for Janna. She has her ultimate and flash available. Oh, but Nami doesn't have a flash and could take a lot of damage here, down to about half health. Gonna have to use that first heal on herself. Back to about full. There's a nice blue team pink ward that is destroyed by Graves. This is the second ocean of the match. Again, not too strong for Stonington. Perhaps if your team had the Anivia, then it would be a little bit more useful to you. But at this point, look, Anivia able to clear out the mid lane. So much health pool from the Leandry plus the Rod of Ages, meaning Anivia doesn't have too much. That's just a simple burst. Really lazy play for the Nami. No flash, no vision, walking out. You know what Graves could be there. That's really just an unfortunate choice there.
Yeah, and with the mid lane priority that Xayah and Janet was able to establish there, pushing out earlier, that means quick and easy dragon for them. But Syndra misstepping into the Anivia stun, being able to get 100 to 0 also means that Anivia can pick up this mid lane turret in trade for this dragon.
Yeah, the comfort of this Anivia pick showing its colors as Anivia being able to separate key members of a fight, using that wall properly, knocking Syndra into some stuns using that wall properly. But with that mana pool getting smaller and smaller, I'm not sure that they can pressure onto a tier 2 at this point.
Yeah, and now we see Anivia has her Rod of Ages fully stacked, meaning that she has basically left the early game. She is as much of a powerhouse as Syndra is, as long as she keeps getting those stun picks.
Yeah, I'm looking at the itemization across the map here. Titanic Hydra now looking to build into a stone plate for Cho'Gath here. I like the idea behind that, but again, I'm not sure it's stronger than other items that are more classic for the current Cho'Gath.
Yeah, I definitely would have preferred to see a full tank coming out of this Cho'Gath, being able to frontline for his team, since Ornn is kind of going that bruiser route using the Abyssal Mask.
And Janna here playing a little bit aggressively, though. Warwick does have his ultimate available, starts off his roar to maybe get us bit of a trade of the fear comes through. Nope. So we're going to be looking, now that we've approached 25 minutes, definitely past that 20-minute mark, Baron's on the table. You can see Janna using her sweeper here, trying to clear out some of that vision. No extra charges in her Sightstone, but vision looks relatively equal around that Baron pit. Do you think one team versus another has more of an advantage in terms of their ability to take Baron quickly, or are they both about equal?
I think Xayah has a lot of potential for shredding that Baron down really fast. Red side team definitely needs to put a lot more pressure on this Baron because of the fact that I believe blue side team's going to be able to snowball this game really quickly. You know, they have an Anivia and a Twitch, and they're practically equal right now. That means they're going to be able to maintain this equality and probably push this into the late game using the powerhouse of Twitch and Anivia. And with the extra Ornn upgrades for the items, it means that, team fights coming out.
Xayah does kind of get caught. No QSS available, but she's able to get her ult. She flashes over the side. She's going to create a little bit more space, but will she have enough damage? Nice root comes through on a few of them. The Anivia zone control, nice wall. Forces the flash over it for the Ornn, but there's this Graves being able to flash away. That's going to be a lot of damage. Syndra separated from the fight. Will she flash over? She does. There's going to R coming through. Wow, really tanky Ornn. Only barely falls to that spell. There's going to be a nice bubble landed again by this Nami into a stun from Anivia. Wow, the Thunderlord's damage is so much as Slicky Mickey actually also falls to this Anivia. So much damage. There's a blasting one. The Roa, the Leandre just doing so much work in that fight. And Anivia main putting down the pain on this Cryo Bird.
Yeah, and again, like I said earlier, the disadvantages of having these, of letting these slow picks going into the mid lane, having no disadvantage at all, because of the fact that they were able to go even in lane. Now they're going to be able to take this turret for free, perhaps even push onto this turret, the next turret, and establish some Baron vision as they're recalling here.
I'll be right.
And they're going to be canceling some recalls to try and make a pick here. Nice sweeper comes through. Will we see that Janna has flash. She looks to walk that direction. Oh, okay. The Anivia stun comes through. It's going to give away their position. Didn't get pinged out, though, so maybe it wasn't even noticed. Baron's on the table. There's very little mana by this in the pools of Nami and Anivia, meaning they'll likely have to recall here. They were on the way pings by blue before they chose to base. About the Baron, so it's possible that with this blue buff, Anivia still stick around, not spend the gold that she got from the last fight, and look to pressure this Baron once again. There's a huge wave stacked here for Stonington in that bottom side, meaning Twitch will likely have to respond to it, but we do have a pause coming out here. All right, we're back from this short break. Play is resuming. You see this countdown. Anivia did reconnect. Alright, so coming into now perhaps the early part of the late game, we've been talking about item builds, we've been talking about this Graves and his magic resist. Turrets equaled out 3-3 overall. Look at these gold leads, though. It's not too much, just a like 1.5k overall in favor of Stonington. But to that end, is the gold on the right members? Is the gold lead on priority members that can actually make the difference coming through to create a win?
Yeah, I believe that Zaya and Graves here are the main two components of being able to win this team. Looks like Graves being able to find Twitch here. Almost killing him. Oh, actually being able to kill him with the help of Syndra there in the bot lane. Now being able to siege on that bot lane turret. But yeah, I would definitely want to see Red side team put a lot more pressure on Baron, because it seems like that's one of the only ways they're going to be able to win this game, being able to siege through the Baron. Looks like Graves is going to be stunned up by the Anivia and taken down with a stun and bubble combo. Warwick being able to follow that up, Syndra having to pop Hourglass. And Syndra's most likely going to go down here after that bubble from Nami.
Oh my goodness, nice unleashed power though. Trades a kill to that Nami. She's playing really far forward. Didn't use the exhaust. Here in mid lane, no. It's a numbers advantage. 2v2 could have the Warwick show up. He actually doesn't choose to follow, so I guess they're just going to force off the Zaya and Janna from mid lane. But the Twitch getting caught out early means there's zero team fight potential here for blue team.
Yeah, and going back to my point earlier, I feel like Baron's definitely one of the only ways that Red side team is going to be able to win this game. Having that lack of engage that you talked about earlier, they're going to have to use that Baron pressure to be able to siege onto these turrets. And since they take down Baron really quickly, the extra gold on Zaya is going to be really helpful to be able to shred down Baron.
And speaking of Baron, we just had that dragon spawn, and it is a mountain. We got Warwick choosing to get that early scuttle here, hopefully securing Vision and having the pressure so that they can contest the dragon at the very least. Vision seems to be mostly in favor of Stonington red side here with that pink ward in the river. There's going to be that scrying orb showing a little bit. Nice control ward in the pit. Graves going to start off this dragon. It's already getting rather low. Able to kill it really quickly. If this mountain goes over to Stonington on red side, and it does, nice ultimate from the Cho'Gath. Okay, the fight breaks a nice 4-man stun from the Syndra. That's going to be a lot of damage comes through. The Anivia's ultimate does get canceled. There's no QSS. The Warwick is right on top of this. Zaya exhaust comes through. Warwick going to get that kill credit. Now we've lost the 80 carries from both sides. Syndra trying to actually reduce the health bars of as many people as possible with that zone control. Warwick really low, nice fear. Tries to create that distance, but Warwick's gonna fall as well. That's 4-1 in favor of Stonington after securing the dragon. They don't really have the Zaya, so I'm not sure they could turn around and try and take that Baron, but with the numbers, they'll be able to push this turret down.
Yeah, definitely Stonington being able to get a really good team fight out of this. I believe that Whaler here played a little too close in that team fight, getting really close to this Cho'Gath, and a really good Janet ult to combat the Anivia wall there.
Yeah, having Anivia get interrupted so that she couldn't actually follow up her Glacial Storm that actually was right on top of both Janna and Zaya didn't end up making the difference. Really well played by the support here. Charknaz, I believe, is the name of this Janna. Really well played to that end. Looks like this Baron's getting really low, down to 1,000 health. Smite isn't available, but it does get secured with an auto attack. As they're just going to fight here. Janna gets taken down, so that's Baron buff taking off one. Nice! Hourglass is going to save the life of the Syndra. She takes down the Twitch with an unleashed power. Graves getting really low, but the last auto attack will take him down. That's a couple of members lost here on blue side. Baron already secured. And Cho'Gath will get caught out, it seems. Nice knockback from the Cho'Gath will interrupt a little bit of damage, and the silence meant that Anivia couldn't put out the pain. Nice ultimate comes from Graves, but wow, nice turnaround kill onto Graves. One crit from the auto attack. Nami taken down as well. Double kill for this Zaya, and she's right there with a wave, Baroned up. As long as she can take on a Warwick with ultimate, then with this teleport coming through, Cho'Gath gonna join. 3k health Cho'Gath. They're gonna take this turret, breaking the base.
Yeah, and it looks like they'll be able to take this inhibitor too. Back to that point about Baron, I wanted them to keep putting on pressure onto this Baron, especially since they have the Cho'Gath ultimate there to be able to feast down this Baron from a higher range. If they can combo that with the Smite, they should be able to continue winning this game as long as they are able to siege with that Baron.
Yeah, and now that they have secured that objective, looks like they're looking to group down here on the bottom side. They don't have a massive wave coming with this Graves, but they should be able to fight at this turret Although Twitch does have Spray and Pray back available, most ultimates across the map coming back off cooldown. Xayah not having hers without a QSS could be a win condition for this type of a fight if Warwick can catch the Xayah before her ultimate comes back up. But look at this, Nami has been landing bubbles, but she keeps playing really far forward. She's got to be really careful. 0 and 5 with 10 assists is a decent KDA for a support, but when you're a shield heal support like this, you want to play a little bit further back, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Red side definitely playing around Xayah really well going into this late game, knowing that Xayah is going to be their powerhouse to continue working at these turrets, being able to siege the rest of their base.
And actually 3 items completed for both of these 80 carries. And Twitch, well known as a late game hyper carry. Graves gonna take that blue buff, so they're gonna shove in onto this tier 2. It will fall. Now it's 7 turrets to 3 in favor of Stonington. Blue team seem to have the win condition of being able to have a really strong backline and very few ways in which Stonington could actually get to, say, the Twitch. Oh my goodness, but there is the heal forced from the Twitch. Nice damage from the Syndra, but there's a Xayah playing in the front line. Nice ultimate from the Janna, but there is a Twitch just hammering through this. A triple kill. He's down to about 100 health. Life steals off of the minions, and he will actually live. 80 health coming through, but that was so much damage from that spray and pray. Nice critical strikes, the Infinity Edge, the static shiv. That was a triple kill. That was the Twitch we were just talking about.
Yeah, and Twitch hitting that 3-item power spike, being able to shred through the team. Now, also being able to kind of force Baron off of 4 members.
Looks like Graves might be getting caught out here, although he does have a lot of damage. Oh my goodness, he puts out the pain. That crit from the static shiv does so much damage against a Warwick who doesn't have that much armor. The Black Cleaver does enough to create the difference.
Yeah, definitely want to see Whaler continue holding up their base until Graves has his Baron buff worn off. They definitely have the late game advantage through this Twitch. So as long as they're able to continue playing towards their strengths of the late game and being able to get access to these items off of Ornn, then they should be able to win this fight as long as this game goes past the 40-minute mark.
Yeah, Ornn really tanky, can be the front line that they need, and Anivia's zone control can keep people off of the Twitch. Now that you have Flash back available for this Syndra, I expect to see her making a little bit more of a risky play with that Banshees, with that Hourglass. Those are not your normal items for a Syndra. You know, it's not the Death Cap, it's not the Void Staff. It looks like she's trying to play CDR heavy for catch potential. If that's the case, with her Flash available, this Twitch has to be very, very careful. There's not a Locket, there's not any magic resist in his own kit, and he doesn't have his heal.
Yeah, it looks like both teams are trying to set up for this Ultra Dragon. Blue team trying to deny it from Stonington here, as well as Stonington just trying to pick it up for the extra potential for their team. I actually really do like you said about the earlier itemization, I like Syndra's pickup of the Banshee's Veil here, being able to kind of negate that Anivia stun, with Stonington here starting the Dragon now, trying to pull it out of the pit.
11,000 health is a lot to deal to a Dragon, even with a Mountain. There's going to be the initiation from the Ornn. Gets a nice knockup onto a couple of members. Stonington peels away from the Dragon. Look at that damage coming from the Xayah. She's already taken down one in the front line. Nami forced to flash away, and then there's this Twitch. She splashes away to try and create the distance, but there is an ultimate to deal 200 damage to a Twitch in the front line. Not reformed here on this Syndra. Nice Hourglass to avoid taking even more damage. The Dragon gets picked up on that backside. It didn't quite reset. Graves able to secure it. And Anivia main trying to create distance. That's a lot of damage. The barrier is almost enough to save her life. Will the Leandry proc be enough? Not quite. Anivia main gonna take so much damage. The flash over the wall from the Graves. He has a lot of damage. The Q comes through. There's gonna be Anivia being procced. And Xayah here focusing on the bird instead of taking a Nexus turret. All right, turns away, tries to focus more on the objective rather than just a couple more kills. Nice redemption gonna come through. That's gonna be a lot of health return. Almost full health for all of these members. This could be the end.
Yeah, like you said, and you said earlier about the lack of engage coming from red side. You don't really need engage if you're going to play around an objective and the entire enemy team is just going to run in towards you. A great flank by the Syndra coming from the top side to be able to kind of clean up that team fight and give them the advantage there at Dragon.
It's not the end at this point, at least not so far. Gonna clear out the jungle on their way out, but now that the gold lead, instead of being just about 1,500, it's now at about 1,000, which is just a massive amount, as Graves is a lot of damage, but he's very, very squishy. No tenacity. Xayah trying to put out a lot of damage, flashes away, nice barrier comes through, but she turns around back into melee range, tries to put down a couple more auto attacks, but you know, once you try and create that distance, if you're going to turn back around, you have to know that it's the right time to do so. It wasn't, so the Xayah will fall. 6, 4, and 10 on that champion, been doing a lot of damage, but poor positioning there. Nets a couple kills in favor, 3 kills indeed, in favor of Whaler. With 3 seconds, here comes that Baron. It's likely to be the case that they'll just be able to secure this for free. But Syndra's on the base. Will they have to recall immediately, or do they have the time to finish this?
Definitely think they have the time to finish this. Being able to pick up Baron here is definitely highly advantageous because they don't need to play around objectives anymore. They can, with this Baron, they can start sieging. They don't need to have the pressure. Cho'Gath here being a little scary. He could flash and ultimate this Baron. Ooh, a good knockup on that Cho'Gath, meaning that this is less of a 50-50. Whaler being able to secure that Baron and perhaps even take out this Cho'Gath while a few members recall to deal with this Syndra. Yeah, the ultimate wasn't actually available. Syndra with a wave, being able to take down both Nexus turrets, and they're on the Nexus. The Nexus only has 1,100 health. Syndra does fall, but that is a very low Nexus, as Ornn's still trying to take down this Cho'Gath over here. He has Flash. Flash is in an interesting direction, maybe trying to have Janna help him stay alive, but it looks like Janna will be able to slow this Ornn. There's going to be Graves damage, just so much. A couple more auto attacks will do it. One more, there's going to be the kill. Ornn taken down. That means Baron's on 4 members now. And they'll be able to defend this Nexus, I think, for just a couple more minutes at least. And the Baron up minion is helping them to combat the siege power of Stonington here. Stonington, if they crack down perhaps just 1 or 2 inhibitors, then they'll be able to continue sieging on this Nexus. Nexus low health. I would like to see one of these bigger players trying to rotate either towards the bot lane and kind of putting maybe having a 4-1 stack with Cho'Gath in the bot lane just to be able to put this extra pressure on Whaler. Yeah, I do like that idea. The Cho'Gath probably strong enough, as you saw, at least wet noodle fight-esque, where in the Baron pit, both Ornn and Cho'Gath were just kind of fighting each other, and while Cho'Gath did end up falling, I think it would take too long for them to commit to fights for that long, meaning Cho'Gath could try and use that Titanic Hydra to fast push a lane in bottom or top, splitting from his team, doing that 4-1 as you mentioned. Yeah, now we've hit the 40-minute mark, like I said earlier. Whaler might have an advantage going into this just because of their champions, but Stonington having a 10k gold lead going into these late game team fights means that Whaler is definitely going to have to kind of play in their base, farm a little more, wait for a misplay coming from Stonington. Yeah, and the 80% crit chance build here for the Twitch. He is invisible right now, so they won't know. But QSS was finally picked up. That means a little less damage for this Xayah in terms of just items versus that of the Twitch. But having that QSS, I think, is really important, especially with how far forward the Xayah has been playing. But now that you've got super minions pushing into mid lane, you've got the Graves pressuring top, and that turret is very low. We could see a fight break out any moment. Yeah, I really like this QSS pickup from Xayah. Now she's able to cleanse off the Anivia stun. Graves picking up the top lane inhibitor turret, being able to kind of bully this Warwick in the top lane. Going to continue putting pressure to try to get that inhibitor while the rest of his team sieges down bot lane. Yeah, Graves pulls 3 members top lane, meaning it's a 4v2 down here in the bottom. If they can get a nice pick onto this Anivia, I think that's game. As the Syndra is looking for a stun, she's playing a little bit far forward. She has that nice Banshee's Veil to avoid getting stunned herself. Yeah, Anivia's ultimate definitely being able to clear this wave really quickly means that there's a lot less siege potential coming in from Wellington. Graves continuing to put pressure on this top side, drawing out with this Warwick and Twitch, having to flash here. Warwick ults and Twitch being able to shut down this Graves. But having 2 on the top side means that they're going to be able to try to put more pressure on this bot lane. Ornn ults putting... Wow.
There's just so much damage. I mean, committing so many members up to Graves means Twitch can come through. He saved Spray and Pray. He didn't need it to take down Graves. There is some damage coming through, but Misfortune's on this Twitch, dealing so much damage. There's a double kill. It's gonna be a double kill each, I believe, for Warwick and the Twitch. committing so many resources here top lane means that Stonington tries to take a fight in that bottom lane, saying, look, we have the members, let's engage. As I mentioned earlier, that would have been the right choice, but after Graves is already dead, it's too late. You have the Twitch coming through, he stealths in, he gets a nice popping out with that ultimate, and then so much damage across so many members. There's not even a Randuin's or a Thornmail or anything to actually reduce the damage of this Twitch coming through across all members that are grouped up on Stonington. And then you got death timers in the around the 10 to 20 mark beyond that of the Graves. I don't think they can end here, but that was a huge turn of events in favor of Whaler.
Yeah, definitely. Twitch being able to rejoin that team fight was very, very key, along with that Warwick, and being able to save that ultimate. Their blue side mid lane inhibitor coming up just in time for them to be able to siege this mid lane inhibitor on the right side, being able to take that down, means that they will have minion pressure going into Stonington's base now.
Yeah, and as so many teams will do, they're just clearing out the jungle on their way out. There's a blue buff available. We'll see who they decide to give that over, if they even decide to pick it up on their way out of the jungle.
Yeah, and blue side finally being able to pick up these Ornn upgrades coming through the form of Zanya's Hourglass, Infinity Edge, and Locket of the Iron Solari, meaning that was a really, really great set of team fights for Whaler Esports. Now they're going to be able to have some really strong items going into this next team fight.
Yeah, as you said, the late game advantage is definitely in favor of Whaler here. Now that we've gotten to the 44 minutes in, a minute and a half before Baron had even spawned, we got super minions pushing out of blue base now, and a GA on top of this Knight's Vow connection means misfortunes here on this Twitch with both summoners available, a GA and an upgraded Infinity Edge. What do we call it now? Molten Edge. Is going to just put down so much damage in every single fight to follow.
Yeah, especially since AD carries now on both sides have hit their 6-item point, with Anivia being able to also hit her 6-item point, means that that Ornn upgrade is just basically free. They don't have it is just an extra boost on top of everything, and perhaps they're going to start to pick up their elixirs and not have to worry about their items soon.
Twitch doesn't even open up his ultimate right away. Just gets auto attacks, and the Syndra just falls to auto attacks from the Syndra. Works on the far backside, trying to create distance as Twitch will get a double kill. Nice flash away from the Xayah, trying to create even more space as her ultimate came through. Nice root. She actually does have damage. This Xayah tries to put down a few more auto attacks, but look, misfortunes on this Twitch is still full health with a GA available. That's a quadra kill as Graves is over the side. I don't think the Penta will come through. Recall's coming through. Nice teleport from the Anivia, gonna push up mid lane. And that's going to be 5 members alive. 4 Whalers going to push up mid lane together. They're approaching this base. Only Graves to defend. 30 seconds before anyone else can join. We're only 45 minutes in. This is a short game, isn't it? 80 plus 90,000 gold or so for both of these teams. And that team fight was explosive. The Twitch damage was insane. Syndra getting caught out. This looks to be the game. Flash forward from Misfortunes on this Twitch. Looks like Anivia will fall, but one more crit will do it. Nearsighted Misfortunes takes down a turret. Nonetheless, that's going to be the Nexus turret. A second Nexus turret falls shortly thereafter. The Nexus is in their sights. 46-minute match going in favor of Whaler. Well played. And well played by Stonington as well.